Maybe I'll take baby chance, maybe not.
Did you, by the way, Summer League action upon us, the Salt Lake City Classic.
Oh, my God. Zach Edey last night.
And he wasn't going Walker Kessler he was going up against. I wasn't mad about what I saw from Zach Edey.
Listen, maybe Utah's sitting back saying, Lauri Markkanen. No, we could... No, because they had Keontae George. And Keontae George was going crazy. And Isaiah Collier from USC had a nice little debut for Utah Summer League, especially in the second half. So Zach Edey with Memphis, because Memphis is another team where you look at it and say, oh boy, you can't sleep on them. As much as I can't stand Memphis Grizzlies, I think they're paper champions. Let's not be mistaken. With Ja Morant, in his the last 2 years before Ja Morant got suspended, they were a number 2 seed in the Western Conference.
Yeah.
They were a 2 seed. You know what I'm saying? I know they didn't make it past the first round against the LA Lakers. They didn't get past the Warriors in the second round. But they were number 2 seed in the Western Conference. Yep. And Ja's coming back. And Ja's coming back with a vengeance with Jerry Jackson Jr. and Desmond Bane. So now they got Zach Edey. That's another team in the Western Conference you got to look out for. But very impressed with Zach Edey yesterday.
And they got Marcus Smart. That's a guy who's obviously been a very high defensive player for them, for the Celtics in the past. So, yeah, I'm excited about what the Western Conference, man. As we spin it back to the Warriors, Bonte, like, I get it. The Warriors have made some nice moves here, and we'll get into all of them. But I can understand Warriors fans' frustrations and wanting to land a guy like a Lauri Markkanen, who, again, I think is more of a name than an actual player to win a championship. But I get it. You want to win the offseason. You want to get the big name. Kyle Anderson's a nice player, slow-mo. D'Anthony Melton has a lot of upside, I think, if he can stay healthy. And then Buddy Hield is a great three-point shooter. I don't know how much else you want from him, but I get it. Those 3 moves alone, when you look at the landscape of the West, I don't know how much it vaults you into a playoff contender when you look at teams like the Grizzlies, who, again, people are sleeping on. The Rockets, they're only going to get better. Like, they were a borderline playing team last year, and I think Ime Udoka did a tremendous job last year being a first-time head coach over in Houston. So
San Antonio with hair. Look,
Chris Paul's going to be great for this development. Chris Paul's going to be good for Wemby. And you know what? It's a good landing spot for Harrison Barnes. As much as I've been critical about Harrison Barnes over the years, he is physical. Who's my guy? Sochan?
Jeremy Sohan.
Jeremy Sohan. I always forget how to pronounce that last name.
Sohan and Keldon Johnson. I got to look at the rest of the roster, but they got a nice little roster around Wemby. And Harrison Barnes, as a veteran, he fits that roster. He's physical. He can defend a little bit. Look, you know what you're going to get from him. You're going to get some inconsistency offensively, but defensively, he's physical. He may rebound a little bit. He can put a body on somebody. San Antonio is another team where you got to look behind you and say, damn, they got Victor Wembanyama. He's going to take another leap, and he can change the basketball game himself. So is Lauri Markkanen that guy? And we heard from a lot of roasters yesterday. I see Dublin Barnes in the chat. I see a lot of people out there who was and you heard it. When it comes to Jonathan Kuminga, it feels like there's, I want to say 65% of the fan base, if I had to gauge it, that's not fair. But I think a lot of people would be willing to trade Jonathan Kuminga for Lauri Markkanen just to do something, just to get that big name. Because I think it will cost a Kuminga. I think it will cost a Moody, but it may also cost a Wiggins. I have no idea. But Utah's going to want a lot of picks. Yeah. And a lot of Warrior fans right now saying, the hell with the picks. Send the picks right now because you have Steph Curry. And the time is ticking, especially after what he said yesterday, Spadone.
And Tony Jones, who covers the team for the Athletic, the Utah Jazz, that is. He joined Evan Giddings and Jason Dumas over the weekend, who did a tremendous job, I thought, breaking down everything. They did a hell of a job after Sam Lubman and myself, of course. But he joined them and basically said, the hang-up right now is just the picks themselves. Like, I don't know how attractive some of the, and how much the Golden State Warriors can actually offer in terms of picks. So it's not just the players, to your point. It's all the first-round picks. And if you're the Warriors right now and you're kind of looking at the landscape of this team and the West, are you really in a position to give up all those picks for a Lauri Markkanen, who, again, I don't know if he vaults you even into a championship contender yet. There's a lot of calls that seem to think that he does do that. And again, to your point, when you go to 65, 35, it's hard to gauge the fan base because
it is hard.
Because I think a lot of us, and I'm guilty of this too, we look at social media and all the chatter on there, and we instantly associate that with the entire fan base.
No doubt.
And we get into it sometimes with the big boss man saying, like, this is what's going on. It's like, I don't know how much that encapsulates an entire fan base, or if it's just a certain segment of people, because not everyone's on Twitter, not everyone's on Instagram, not everyone's on Facebook. Who the hell is still on Facebook? I deleted mine back in 2016 during that election cycle. So to your point, I would rather go with the unknown of a Jonathan Kuminga and maybe I'm alone on this island, and maybe 888-957-9570 if you want to weigh in. I would rather bank on the unknown and the upside of a Jonathan Kuminga than the already known of a Lauri Markkanen. Yeah, and that's where I'm at
Guru
right now.
was very emotional about it yesterday. He's like, 25 points a game.
Guru's emotional?
Yeah,
no,
it was about Lauri Markkanen. He was like, trade Kuminga. You're talking about a guy who scores 25, 26 points a game. Well, number one, somebody's got to score on Utah. So he gets the free reign on Utah. But I'll look at what the Warriors need. And look, he could be a stretch five. He could bomb the threes left and right. But what happens when Anthony Davis checks him? What happens when Wemby checks him?
Nikola Jokic.
What happens when Naz Reid checks him? Yeah. Nikola Jokic. DeAndre Ayton, I wouldn't sleep on as well. I know we got a sour taste in our mouth about him, but you know what? He's a double-double guy, and he's going to play hard in Portland. He feels like he's got a new lease on life. He's out of Phoenix now.
Jared Jackson Jr.?
Jared Jackson Jr. in Memphis, Tennessee with the Grizzlies. There's a lot going on here. Lively and Gafford in Dallas. Şengün, who's coming back with Houston. Nah, don't laugh at that.
I'm not.
Şengün's a baller. Şengün's a hell of a player, man. He may become a restricted free agent as well next season with the Houston Rockets. So he's a guy. Him and Jalen Green, they may be on the outs in Houston come next season. So I'm not sure how much better Lauri Markkanen makes the Golden State Warriors. Does he catapult them in the top 5? Does he catapult them in the top 6? I'm saying keep Kuminga. I saw Kuminga score 20 a game when he went to the media and said, Steve Kerr lost my trust. Steve Kerr, they had to sit down. He got the haircut, and he balled out from there. And I was very impressed with the young man. So much so, we heard it from Draymond Green over and over. He's our second best player right now. He is. Two-way, going to the rack, mid-range jumper. I'd rather hold on to Kuminga. And I think, again, I keep repeating myself when it comes to this, but financial flexibility. I don't know if the roster is better this season right now on paper than last year's, Spinoni.
Maybe
I look at this.
Maybe slightly.
I don't know if they're better. Yeah. I don't know if they're better. I don't know.
I think we're underrating, to your point. I'll let you finish there. Chris Paul was a tremendous impact on those young players last year. I think we have to give him a lot of credit. Yep. I think a lot of people look at the box score and look at the minutes and coming off the bench. But what he did as a leader, because let's face it, the knock on the Warriors prior to Chris Paul was that they couldn't help develop or be leaders for some of these young guys because all they knew was winning at the highest level. So they didn't have time to help bring up these young guys. They had time last year, and Chris Paul specifically has been through a lot of rebuild or rebuilding situations, whether it was in OKC, whether it was with Houston, stuff like that. Phoenix, obviously. So his level of impact with guys like Brandon Pajemski and Trace Jackson Davis, hell, and Jonathan Kuminga, I think has been undersold tremendously last year.
No, so you got that aspect. So I don't know. I have no idea if this roster right now is better than the one that we saw last season and that won 46 games with Draymond Green being out for 27 games. He was out for 27 games, and they were 13-14. He plays in those 27 games. Hell, say if he plays in 15 of those games. I believe the Warriors are a 50-win team. I truly do. So I don't know if this team right now on paper is better than last season's roster. However, the pieces seem to fit. Although I have some questions about the scoring punch. Can they get enough offense, generate enough offense with the departure of Klay Thompson and with guys like Buddy Hield, Kyle Anderson, and D'Anthony Melton, who I really like. And we'll play some of that sound from D'Anthony Melton as he was introduced to the Bay Area alongside Kyle Anderson yesterday. But the financial flexibility in having tradable contracts, stackable contracts. So if you are in the mix, say, Spinoni, you're hovering around a 16, you're hovering around a 17, and you get closer and closer to the deadline. Well, I've got contracts I could move. I could stack them. Whether it's Looney GP2, whether it's Buddy Hield, whether it's Kyle Anderson, I got stackable contracts on this roster to where if I strike out on Markkanen, which is possible, and it's not because the Warriors aren't trying. The Warriors aren't trying. They're trying to swing big here. They swung for Paul George. Clippers didn't agree. They're trying to swing for Markkanen. Right now, Danny Ainge and the Jazz don't agree. But when you get to the deadline, if there becomes somebody else available, you have a lot of stackable contracts in which you can trade at the deadline and get better. We saw the Dallas Mavericks. Perfect litmus test for today's NBA. Yeah. You can swing a deal at the deadline. Hell, I seen it way back when in 95 with the Houston Rockets when they swung a deal for Clyde Drexler as a 6th seed, and they went all the way to the NBA Finals and swept the Orlando Magic. No, that was a long time ago. But in today's game, Spinoni, it is very possible to flip the switch just like that at the deadline.
Absolutely. You just saw the Lakers 2 years ago go to the Western Conference Finals after trading Russell Westbrook and co, bringing in a couple other people. Not Gabe Vincent, but my guy, Jared Vanderbilt, amongst other D'Lo, stuff like that. So we'll get into it on the other side.
Yeah.